Moving on to the next one. Raider Jim wanted to get to this one so badly. It is the Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. This is probably the second best game, at least on paper, of the weekend. Green Bay is going to be 2.5-point favorites at home. The over-under is 47 on the money line side of things. You have the Lions at plus 120 and the Green Bay Packers minus 140. Raider Jim, your thoughts, Lions at Pack.
Yeah, again, what do I say? If it's on the internet, it must be true. If somebody wrote it down, it must be true. All the talk that has come out about coaching changes, personnel changes, all the changes for Detroit. Uh-oh, watch out. They're going to tank this year. Maybe not tank isn't the word that was used, but basically everybody is saying the Lions you saw last year aren't going to be the Lions you see this year. Let me tell you one thing that's going to be the difference maker on Sunday night or Sunday this weekend. Aidan Hutchinson is going to be back for Detroit. So they're not going to be missing a step on the defensive side of the ball. That kid was the defensive player of the year last year until he got hurt. Guess what? He's not hurt now. He's firing on all cylinders. He's going to make life miserable. On the other side of the ball, here's what you got. Micah Parsons is already listed as questionable for week 1. So he may not even make an appearance against Minnesota. The other thing you have on the defensive side of the ball for the Packers, Xavier McKinney, slightly banged up, questionable. Nate Hobbs, right cornerback, slightly banged up, questionable. And like I said, Micah Parsons, and even strong safety, Zane Anderson, the second round or the second string strong safety for Green Bay, questionable because of injury. They are just banged up. You don't want a banged up secondary when you are going against Jared Goff. That just doesn't play well for anybody. On the other side, as far as injuries go, they do have a couple areas. They've got Taylor Decker, the left tackle, and they've got Graham Glasgow, the center. Little banged up, but they're going to play. But, they just put it down that you may not be 100%. But on that defensive side of the ball, left cornerback, Terrion Arnold, he's the only one that is listed as probably questionable, a little bit of a strained hamstring. But other than that, they're looking pretty healthy. Too much health, too much firepower. Watch the Lions. They're going to come out. They're probably got so much stuff posted up on their board right now saying, read that before you go out and take the field. Denver covers 2.5, no problem where I'm sitting. And over under 47, I think it's going to go over 47 too, because I think Detroit's just going to come out and put on a show.
Yeah, I think this is a situation where I'm very, very surprised that this line is the way it is. I don't know if this is a reaction to the Micah Parsons trade. But look, I understand Lambeau, the home team gets 3 points. I get that. But it's Lambeau in September. And yeah, a lot of the mystique of Lambeau is the frozen tundra. And unless I'm missing something, it's not going to be frozen. Probably even going to be a tundra at that point. It's probably going to be actually pretty beautiful in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So that might be a little bit of something that you kind of take out of it in terms of the home field. Obviously, you are going to have the raucous crowd. This isn't a night game or a standalone game either. So, this is, I feel, a Detroit money line game. I think Detroit wins this game. And I think Detroit also understands that with everything that happened the last week or so, they need to kind of put their flag in the NFC North, at least early, and say, look, we still run this place. Because it would not be ideal. There are going to be a lot of people, the Lions haters, that are going to remind the Lions fans about their divisional performance, where they just couldn't do anything against the Commanders. Packers, they're kind of the blue chippers of the NFC North. Detroit, I think, kind of wants to fully plant their flag in the NFC North this year, and I think this goes a long way towards doing it. You're not going to talk. I mean, this might be the best coaching matchup in all of football this weekend. Two very different styles. But I can't wait to see how this shakes out. But give me Detroit plus 120. And I'm like you. I see the over here. I think both of these teams, I don't want to say are gonna treat this as a playoff game, but I think they're gonna treat this a lot more importantly than most week one teams will approach theirs. So I like the over here. And this is one that, you just kind of sit back and watch and enjoy, because I think this probably might be the best game of the week. A lot on the line here. Even Baltimore Buffalo, it's an interconference game, but it's not a divisional game. This is a divisional game in what I believe is the most competitive division in all of football. So that's something to keep an eye on. And that's also a perfect segue into the other side of this division, another NFC North matchup. It is Monday Night Football. The Minnesota Vikings, 1.5-point favorites at the Chicago Bears. The over-under is going to be 44, and Minnesota will be minus 125 on the money line, and Chicago plus 105 on the money line. Raider Jim, your thoughts for our Monday night showdown in Chicago? Oh, I think you're muted. Not yet. Nope. Still waiting. I think he's got to get the mic back on. Uh-oh. Think that might be it for Raider Jim. I will give my thoughts real quick. But I do think that Chicago has room to improve. I love their wide receiver room. I think DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, and I believe it's Luther Burden or Luther Bird, it's something, but Luther Burden. Um, I think that's a fantastic wide receiver room. Obviously, the quarterback is always going to be a bit of a question mark. Caleb Williams is, I think, a walking question mark, unfortunately. But I think Ben Johnson coming in is the difference for the Bears. I think they have a better season than last year. I think they are a lot more competitive in the division. I don't think we're going to see situations where like a Hail Mary takes this team out. I think that the Bears do start to move in the right direction. I have a lot of question marks about JJ McCarthy. I think JJ McCarthy may very well be very, very good. And I think I hear you over there, Raider Jim. So I think you are good. Yep. Perfect.
Great.
So perfect. So I think there are a lot of question marks for Minnesota. Obviously, Kevin O'Connell might be behind Andy Reid. He's my number two in terms of coach. So with that being said, I like Chicago plus 105 on the money line. I was very high on Caleb Williams last year because so many people were down on him. And it's not the USC thing, because I did not like him at USC. His last year at USC made me anyways, so that's not the bias that comes out of it, but I just think Chicago moving in the right direction, big opportunity for them to kind of make their big move on Monday Night Football, bring down a beatable Vikings team. I do think we have to stay under, though, for Chicago to win this game. The big difference is, or the big issue is going to be the Chicago defense. Are they able to do enough? We shall see two defenses that I think need to kind of get back on track after last year, more so for Chicago. But Raider Jim, your thoughts? Excuse me, Minnesota at Chicago on Monday night.
Yeah, I kind of am thinking about this one like you are. We finally get, it's a year in the making. We finally get the game we were supposed to have last year. JJ McCarthy against Caleb Williams. Well, sometimes Mother Nature gets in the way and injuries happen, and JJ had to kind of miss that party last year. But now it's going to happen. And I'm with you. Going into this, seeing Minnesota at 1.5, I thought, okay, I can see that. Even though it's that thing where what you touched on a few games back. So what the handicappers are telling us is Minnesota's actually 4.5 points better than Chicago, because we're not going to give Chicago the 3 points home, give them the 3 points like they should be because they're hosting. Now, why is Minnesota going to not win this game? Because Chicago, I think their defense is going to be just enough. And on the other side of the ball, JJ McCarthy, he's got a couple problems out there. And the couple problems are CJ Ham and Justin Jefferson are banged up. They are not 100%. That's two of your biggest weapons. If you don't have them and you're playing against an okay Chicago defense, then oh my goodness, anything can happen. Now, on the other side of that statement, let me tell you this: left cornerback Jalen Johnson for the Bears, Kyler Gordon, slot cornerback for the Bears, and weak side linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, all dinged up a little bit. So it could just be, who's going to be able to limp the fastest to catch a guy or to get past somebody. But I really think in this one, I like the way Chicago's going to come out, play at home, make a point right out of the gate. And I think Caleb Williams is going to have a much better season than he did last year. Not that he had anything to hang his head about, but I think he's got that year of maturity and experience under him. And I think we're going to see a good game from the Bears. I like the Bears on the money line on this one. And I'm with you, though. It's got to stay under.
Yeah, it's and I'll throw one more issue for JJ McCarthy out there. And this is a lot more definite. Jordan Addison suspended the first 3 games. That's going to, yeah, that's going to call, especially if you don't have Justin Jefferson. That's going to be an issue going forward, or at least for the first 3 games. I believe that was actually, you know what? I'm not going to say what I don't know for sure. So he's suspended 3 games. Google it. I'm not going to right now. I don't want to say anything that is wrong, which I have a tendency to do, believe it or not. Anyways.